Salesforce CEO Mark Beinoff and his wife Lynn have agreed to acquire Time magazine from Meredith for $190 million. They're buying the magazine as individuals and say they will not be involved in day-to-day operations or editorial decisions at the publication. The deal is unrelated to Salesforce. Yesterday, Benioff tweets, "The power of Time has always been its unique storytelling of the people and issues that affect us all and connect us all. A treasure trove of our history and culture. We have deep respect for their organization and honored to be stewards of this iconic brand." As Laureen Powell-Jobs has a piece of The Atlantic now, and Bezos obviously has The Post.
You know, Mark told me that obviously it says Time magazine is very strong, but here's one that, remember the boy from Meredith? He says it's usually profitable. Now, we don't know the structure. David, I asked you, what structure did they get that it's usually profitable? Did they just have no liabilities were kept at another place? He's talking about the way using the intellectual property, not only what Bob Bakish did at Viacom, that there's all this lost intellectual property, that there's many opportunities to be able to make it so that it's run better, but that's obviously not his, he and Lynn Benioff are not going to run it. But I do think that somehow Meredith gave him a good deal for $190 million.
They may have. I mean, Bezos bought the Washington Post for $250 million, I think that was the number, and has clearly overseen what has been a resurgence in that publication.
Yes.
Digital obviously is an important part of that, but so has been sort of really beefing up to a certain extent just the editorial heft that the Washington Post has. Don't know what direction this goes in. And we've told the story of Time so many times, but you know, obviously it was inherent in the deal itself that Meredith bought this public company that had what, a $2 billion market value, if that. But I mean, it was 1989 when Time was putting the finishing touches on buying, you know, Warner Brothers.
Oh, I know.
You know, it's almost 30 years, but still, this was a giant and an enormous company.
Of course.
And of course, it's just more or less completely watched its fate turned upside down as a result of digital.
But if he says it's usually profitable, and he used that term, then it's possible that you could just make it an old digital edition, save a lot of the distribution costs. Maybe we have a subscription economy. I think Meredith was uniquely unable to do anything.
But tell me about Benioff here. You know him very well. Like, what's the purpose behind this?
Well, I think that some of it is preservation, to not let it go down the drain, which I think Meredith would have been.
You mean in the way some people buy the Magna Carta and try to preserve history?
I think it's better than that, because the Magna Carta is not usually profitable.
To that point, there are Picassos or Van Goghs that have gone for a lot more money than Time.
That is a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. And, you know, what kind of the return on, what do you got, a call?
Yeah.
I'm busy talking.
I'm trying to
Let me just take one. Just a second. Dwayne Reed's on to see. Oh, my God, I have to pick up my prescription. There's
Is that exclusive, by the way? That's exclusive.
There is definitely a belief that he can make a run of this thing. And what we don't know is, did Meredith take some costs out? And if Meredith took some costs out, including some severance, I think that he can build it up. I think it's a unique property. New York Times remember when the fake New York Times was in trouble?
No, failing.
New York Times. Well, I mean, I wish that any business I'm involved would fail the way that New York Times failed.
Yeah, digital subscriptions at the Times have skyrocketed.
Yes, and Meredith did not do anything.
Stock has done
I don't know
well.
the Meredith guys well, but I do think that they've been holding this thing for sale.
No, but Time was never a part of this. It was all about People Magazine for Meredith.
Yes,
that's where all the money was at Time.
They didn't care about Time.
Yeah.
And I think that I follow People Magazine
Fortune.
on Twitter.
They don't care about Fortune or Sports Illustrated. It's only about people.
I follow People Magazine just because I don't know anything about. You know, there's about 50 years with the culture that I don't know. But Time I worked for Time. I mean, I remember when it was uniquely profitable. I didn't work with Mr. Luce, by the way, who is.
You didn't work for Henry?
No, who's very different from Benioff in terms of his orientation in politics.
Yes, but did change the way magazines are written.
Oh, no, I mean, it's tightened. But I think that Mark understands subscription economy. He has a close relationship with Zora. Which is the one that knows how to integrate subscriptions very well. I think he's going to make it. He's not trying to make a lot of money, but he's already making money with it.
But he might want to make some.
He says
little.
If he says if it's usually profitable, that doesn't mean that's hard to say that it's losing. Why would he say it's usually profitable if it's losing? There's no reason to. Why not just say, listen, I'm going to preserve this thing? I think he makes money. I mean, Mark made money in pretty much everything. I mentioned that I have Marcus Lemonis on. In his call, he says, look, Demandware is really helping my company. He doesn't say Salesforce, but that's the other one.
That's it.
They're making a lot of money, Benioff. He's making a lot of money.
I'm aware of that. They got a big tower, don't they?
Yeah.
Big, really big.
The biggest in San Francisco.
Doing better than Oracle, which we'll hear from tonight.
Ooh, yeah. Boy, they hate each other. You want to make a call? I'm talking.
I'll return it later.